Hello everyone, P.U.N.K here. Hopefully you're all having a wonderful day whenever it is that you're watching this video. Today, I'm going to be tackling my take on Therion P.U.N.K test hands in the month of July 2023. So, in the case you need some context, the particular list used in this video will be my most recent Therion P.U.N.K deck profile in July 2023. I'm showcasing you a picture right now of the thumbnail, and I'll also link the video in the description. Alternatively, if you aren't really a fan of these more long-winded explanations of test hands and you prefer quick and dirty combos, please check out this older video. It is the Therion P.U.N.K combo video that I had posted, I believe, during spring. And even though it was during a different format, these combos are still applicable to the deck now, since none of the cards really got hit. Additional mentions, if you have any comments or questions throughout the video, these test hands will be on the spot, and so it's possible I make any mistakes or can improve on them. Please let me know down below. It does mean a lot to me to be able to interact with all of you and to get feedback on how I can improve my gameplay and how I can improve the videos themselves. Otherwise, remember to like and subscribe, and I will get on with the deck profile. So let's get started with our first test hand. I'm going to shuffle the deck real quickly, then I'm going to put it to the side and we will draw our 5 cards going first. And you can see here we've drawn our Gyro System, Xaymin, Deer Note, Duke Yule, and Infinite Impermanence. Now, this is an okay hand. Reason why I say it's okay is because you do have your starter in Xaymin, which is necessary for Therion P.U.N.K, since the Therion part of this deck does rely on the P.U.N.K part resolving in order to do stuff. Otherwise, basically, there's not all that many great extenders here. Our Gyro System is nice since you can make the Duke Yule live in case you need it. This also helps you get Borea in grave earlier if you need to. But otherwise, this is going to be the main starter via Xaymin. I don't know if we want to necessarily lead off with the Duke plus the Gyro System. If we were going second, we would have Dark Ruler No More, which is great. Dark Ruler No More plus Infinite Impermanence. This could potentially blow out certain matchups and give you the chance to push through. However, since going second is a little bit hard to anticipate in terms of test hands, since you don't know what you're playing against, your opponent might also be creating something on board that may vary depending on the matchup, we can't do much here. So, with this test hand, I'm going to go with the Xaymin first. We're going to normal summon the Xaymin. Xaymin will activate. If this gets disrupted, you can go down the Therion line by activating our Gyro System, and then summoning the Duke Yule as I had mentioned by equipping the Borea you send off the Gyro System. However, we're going to assume that we don't get hand trapped and we're able to get the Foxy Tune. Then we're going to activate Foxy Tune. Let me actually put the Dark Rule No More back. That is a mistake because we are not drawing that yet. The Foxy Tune will activate here. We're going to send it to graveyard, and then we're going to discard. In this case, I'd probably say the Deer Note. We're going to make the greedy assumption that everything here is going to resolve. Realistically, what you could do instead, if you wanted to play it safe, you could just Deer Note summon itself by sending Foxy Tune to graveyard, make your Deblantis or Dragon Drive, whatever, and that would be a lot safer since the Foxy Tune does lose to Ash and friends, but I'm going to be greedy here for the sake of showcasing to all of you the best possible end board that this hand can achieve. So, Foxy Tune will activate. We're going to send itself to graveyard, send the Deer Note to graveyard as mentioned on resolution to summon out a copy of Shirakusai. The Shirakusai can then activate its effect, fuse with the Xaymin. In a separate chain is an on-summon effect for those of you that are newer to this deck. And we're going to summon out the Rising Carp. Rising Carp will then activate. We're going to tribute itself, summon out a Wagon and a Deer Note, assuming of course that also doesn't get hit. This is why I'm saying the Deer Note play might be a lot safer if you wanted to do that, since this particular line opens us up to a shit ton of hand traps. You'd have to dodge Imperm, Veiler, Ash, really a lot of, common hand traps you'd see. But again, let's assume we are good and trying to push through as best as possible. Wagon here will then search the Extreme Session. And what's nice here is we do not technically have to go for Deblantis since we have the Gyro System. I'm going to utilize the fact that we have our Gyro System to dodge that so that we can get 2 draws off of the Extreme Session instead of 1. So activate Extreme Session. I guess technically you should also Arc Gyro System first so you don't accidentally draw the card that you do not want to be drawing. We're going to send to graveyard the Lily Borea here. And then from here, we're going to go Deer Note plus Wagon, summon out the Dragon Drive. Dragon Drive will activate here, pay 600 in order to grab ourselves a copy of the beloved Madam Spider. And then on resolution, Extreme Session will draw one card. We draw into our only copy of Disc Coliseum. If you check the deck profile, you can see I'm only playing one copy. This does suck since we can't really utilize Borea to gain additional pluses right now, but that does mean that we at least secure this here instead of later, which, you know, it's a trade-off. So now Extreme Session, activate, summoning out the Madam Spider. I almost forgot, hold up. We do need to resolve Deer Note's effect to summon back a level 8. Otherwise, we would be basically throwing the game, and we do not want to do that. I guess we could make this board a little bit stronger if you want to summon out the Shirakusai. Since we can just use Duke Yule, I think I actually will do that now that I'm wording through that. Remember that I am not the perfect player, and so some of these things do come out on the spot. But yeah, given the circumstances, we'll summon out the Shirakusai instead. We're going to use the Extreme Session to send or banish from graveyard, let's say the Foxy Toon, so their opponent doesn't have any potential light targets in graveyard to freely summon Bystials if they haven't Bystialed already. We're going to banish that, summon the Madam Spider. Madam Spider will grab a copy of Dangerous Gabu, and then we can trigger Extreme Session again to draw another card. We draw into Dark Ruler Nomar. Doesn't seem that great going first, but you can always keep this if your opponent manages to set up negates, and that helps you push through during your subsequent turn a lot easier. Alright, from here, what are we going to do? We're going to activate Duke Yule, summon itself, equip the Borea from graveyard. We can't use Borea's effect because, as I mentioned, the Disc Coliseum is already on field. We're going to send these two, or we're going to overlay these two into the Champion Sargass. Sargass will activate to grab ourselves a copy of Regulus, wherever Regulus is. We're then going to activate Regulus. Regulus will summon itself to field by equipping the Borea. And then, or actually, no, sorry. Duke Yule is a lot stronger here since it does, oh no, it's equipped, never mind. Equip Borea. Then, what we're going to do, excuse me, is we're going to activate the Disc Coliseum. Disc Coliseum can search us a copy of Bull-Ain. We can then summon the Bull-Ain. Oh no, technically we can't yet, huh? I see the issue. Since we wouldn't be able to tribute off the Lily, we wouldn't be able to summon, sorry. I swear I'm a good Punk player, but Bull-Ain can equip the Deer Note. That was why I went for it straight away. So, you can see here where this combo is going. We're going to go the Madam Spider plus the Bull-Ain and the Deer Note. Deer Note can trigger, usually, but not after we've already activated it, and then we're going to summon out the Baron de Fleur. We're going to set our copy of Infinite Impermanence and Dangerous Gabu, and then we'll have Dark Ruler Nomar in hand for follow-up. So you can see here, if you ignore the glare on some of these cards, basically what we have established here is we have Baron, Omni Negate, we have the Regulus, also an Omni Negate. We have Shirakusai to Quick Synchro with Regulus into Amazing Dragon if we need to dodge potential beaters. We have 2 Effect Bailers, and then we have Disc Coliseum to protect our board, and Dark Ruler Nomar as follow-up. So, overall, not a terrible end board. You can see Therion Punk can put out a really strong end board given the chance. I know that Gold Pride Punk, as we always talk about, is seemingly stronger given its better consistency and synergy, but if Therion Punk goes off, it goes off. So this was test hand 1, and I'm going to get on with test hand number 2. And here we are at test hand number 2. So I'm going to shuffle the deck real quickly. If the combo we see in our going first hand is the same as the first one, I'm not going to show you the entire combo. I'm just gonna verbally tell you what happens here. This hand does actually give us the same exact end board or not the same exact end board, but a very similar end board to the first one can. However, since we have Empress Alasia, we can do a little bit more here. And so I think this is worth walking you through one more time. The third hand, I probably will shorthand it so that, pun not intended, I swear, but we'll shorthand it so that we can not give you a redundant combo every single time. So, with this hand, Xayman normal summon, we're going to use that as our normal summon since that will bait out any interruptions, say Veiler Imperm, and then our opponent won't realize we have Foxy Tune in hand. We're going to search a copy of Ogre Dance. If our opponent draws us here, it happens, you know, can't do much about it. We can still set up a Dragite plus Shirakusai per the normal P.U.N.K combo, but we won't be able to access our Therion package if that is the case. In this case, we're going to assume that we do not get drolled, we do not get ashed, veilered, impermed. Here, we're going to activate the Foxy Tune. Other ways to get to Shirakusai is you could always Ogre Dance, discard itself, search Shirakusai, then summon Shirakusai with Deer Note if you want to save the Foxy Tune for whatever reason. Also, you could also just go straight into Deep Atlantis by summoning the Deer Note you have in hand, as I had similarly mentioned in the first test hand. But I'm going to be greedy as possible, go Foxy Tune here. We're going to discard, I'm going to say the Deer Note, mainly because in the case we do need another Deer Note, like if we can't get to it here, Ogre Dance is viable. I guess, honestly, to be very, very safe, I'm going to discard the Ash Blossom. That is probably the safest bet, since if Foxy Tune, or if Rising Carp were to get interrupted, you would at least have these cards to follow up with that, but Ash doesn't contribute to that. So, Foxy Tune, send the Ash Blossom, summon the Shirakusai. It's fine, y'all. We'll get back to another Ash Blossom eventually. And then here, we're going to fuse in these two into a copy of the beloved Rising Carp. Doesn't matter where the zone is. Rising Carp will send itself to graveyard, summon out Deer Note, and summon out Wagon if we can find them. Deer Note plus Wagon. Wagon will activate, grab ourselves a copy of Extreme Session. It's always the last card in our deck, I swear. Activate Extreme Session, send these two. We're then going to summon out the Deep Atlantis, Chainlink 1 Deep Atlantis, Chainlink 2 Deer Note, targeting the Rising Carp. We're not going to target the Foxy Tune because that might play into a Bestial, and we're going to make the Deer Note Chainlink 2 since it's less likely for your Deer Note to be hit nowadays than the Deep Atlantis, since people are either playing Bestials or Siding Crow. If you're going game 1, you don't need to worry about DD Crow that much. Deep Atlantis will resolve, send our Borea to graveyard. Basically, what we're going to do here is we're going to send these two into a copy of Gigantic Champion Sargass. Sargass will activate, search ourselves a copy of Regulus. Regulus can then activate from hand, equip the Borea, and then we can use first, before we resolve Regulus sending Extreme Session, we can discard or send a graveyard Ogre Dance, grab ourselves a copy of Madam Spider. We can then summon the Madam Spider by banishing the Ogre Dance using the field spell. Madam Spider will then search us a copy of Dangerous Gabu, and that will allow us to draw one card. We're trying to, amass as much as possible here. And we draw ourselves into an evenly matched, not the best to have, but better to not draw into more bricks than anything. Alright, from here, Regulus, send the Extreme Session to graveyard, search a copy of this Colosseum. This Colosseum, we can activate it now, search a copy of Bull-Ain. We're then going to activate Bull-Ain, equip from our graveyard the Deer Note. I'm going to have to move stuff over now since we're running out of space. And then here we can synchro these two, the Madam Spider and the Bull-Ain, into a copy of Baron the Fleur. And wait, the combo does not end here because we can activate Alasia, Oh, actually, technically we can't yet because... Oh no, we can. Basically, Alasia, we're going to activate its effects. Equip Bolt Ain from Graveyard. And then what we're going to do is we are going to... Wait, sorry. We're going to use the Baron de Fleur, pop the Borea so that we have a legal target for Alasia to make rank 8s. We're then going to use Alasia's effect, send to Graveyard the evenly matched, summon back the Borea. We can then overlay the Borea and the Alasia into a copy of Hope Harbinger. We can then set our copy of Dangerous Gabu, and this will be our end board. So, very strong end board, a little bit, or about the same as your first test hand. Basically, we still have 4 interruptions. I guess the first one did have the infinite impermanent set on top of what we had on board, but the general premise is there where we have 2 Omni Negates, we have Titanic Galaxy here instead of the Shirakusai, we still have Dangerous Gabu. Sure, we don't have Imperm, but this is still, again, a very formidable board for Therion P.U.N.K, and if you get there, you get there, and usually this should be enough to stop your opponent. So, just going to attest how great Therion P.U.N.K can be, even though, again, Gold Pride P.U.N.K does get a lot of attention. This was test hand number 2, and I'll get on with test hand number 3. So for this last test hand, unless it is a very, very unique hand, I'm probably going to shorthand it as I alluded to at the start of test hand number 2. So, we draw ourselves, let's fan this out for you all. We draw ourselves Dark World No More, Disc Coliseum, Ogre Dance, King Regulus, and Zayman. Amazing, amazing hand. It does suck that we drew the Disc Coliseum since we only play 1 copy of Disc Coliseum. That is part of the reason of why I'm considering bumping up Disc Coliseum to 2 and or including more Therion spells and traps so that Borea has additional targets to search. But otherwise, very strong, because again, you have access to your normal P.U.N.K combo here. We could go through the whole thing again, but I think you get the gist right now. And then we also have this Coliseum Regulus to go down that line if need be. You could potentially set up, you can potentially set up certain cards if you get interrupted. It's going to depend on how things end up, but overall, still okay. Do I actually want to work you all through this? I'm not sure. Because overall, it's the same thing. You go Zayman, search Foxy 2, and you can go down that line. I guess we can do this slightly differently just to showcase to you what would happen if you wanted to play it a little bit safer. And what I mean by safer is, let's say we search Foxy Tune instead of Zayman. We can then use Foxy Tune, send itself to Graveyard, send the Dark World No More to Graveyard, search or summon out a copy of Dear Note. This is the safer line in a lot of situations because the Shirakusai line again opens you up to a lot of interruptions. Effect Veiler, Imperm, Ash on the Rising card, which does suck a lot more than getting Ash on the Foxy Tune. So here we can go these 2 into a copy of Diabolantis, Chainlink 1 Diabolantis, Chainlink 2 Dear Note targeting the Foxy Tune. If you get Bestialed, you get Bestialed. There's not much you can do here. But assuming we don't get Bestialed, we can go down our usual line of sending Borea. And then here what we can actually do is we can go Regulus, summon itself, equip the Borea, and then make these 2 into a copy of... Make those 2 into a copy of our... We could go Sargass technically if we wanted to. We could also just go for the Hope Harbinger, and then we could have these 2 for follow-up. It's a safer play technically, but not the greatest end board. It isn't, I don't believe it is possible to get us to the Alasia, I could be wrong. But yeah, this is a possible alternative to the usual combo that you had seen at the start of the combo. I know it's weaker, but I'm just trying to showcase to you all different options, different means by which you can approach this deck. Alright, so as potentially scuffed as some of these test hands were placed out in actuality as I played through them. This were some test hands on Therion P.U.N.K. Is the deck good? It's fun. It definitely has its strengths, though I do think, I would argue that Gold by P.U.N.K is a little bit better. But if you want to have some fun, try this variant out. Not terrible to play. Otherwise, I think here, remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to leave any comments below if you enjoyed the video and or you have suggestions for me moving forward regarding how I structure these videos and or organize them. Otherwise, this is Toon World, and I will be signing out.